In a world of over 8 billion people, most of us move through life without stopping to notice the strange or the unexplained. Yet some stories slip through, stories that seem to defy understanding and linger at the edge of reality. On the night of March 31st, 2006, 27-year-old medical student Brian Shaffer entered a bar in Columbus, Ohio. Surveillance footage from the night captures him inside, but what happened to Brian Shaffer remains one of the most perplexing missing persons cases in recent American history. Brian Shaffer was a second-year medical student at Ohio State University. Friends described him as responsible, ambitious, and socially engaged. He had recently completed a grueling semester and went out for a night of social relaxation with friends. South Campus Gateway, where he spent his evening, was a busy student nightlife district. Footage shows Brian entering the Ugly Tuna Saloon, a bar popular with students, around 9 p.m. He was seen moving through a crowd, interacting casually, and drinking responsibly. Nothing about his behavior suggested that anything was amiss. Shortly before 2 a.m., security cameras capture Brian outside the bar's entrance, talking with two people. He appeared calm and composed. Moments later, he stepped out of the camera's view and was never recorded leaving the building. Investigators reviewed all available footage, including entrances, stairways, and nearby streets. Every potential exit was accounted for. No evidence shows him leaving, and no physical traces or witnesses have come forward to clarify any details about his disappearance. When Brian was reported missing, police conducted a thorough search of surrounding areas, including streets, alleys, construction sites, and rooftops. His vehicle remained parked near his apartment. Cell phone and financial records show no activity after his disappearance. Authorities interviewed friends, classmates, and bar patrons from the very same night. Hundreds of tips were submitted over the years, none of which produced verifiable leads. Despite extensive efforts, investigators found no indication of foul play, accident, or voluntary disappearance. Several possibilities have been considered. He may have exited through a door or passage that was overlooked or unmonitored, but investigators could not confirm that any such route existed. Foul play is possible, but no evidence supports this, and no suspects have been identified. Voluntary disappearance has been suggested, but his ongoing responsibilities, close personal relationships, and upcoming plans make this unlikely. The lack of evidence, combined with the recorded footage showing him entering a bar but never leaving, makes this case exceptionally unusual. The case remains open. Age-progressed images have been created showing what Brian might look like today. As tips continue to surface, none have led to a confirmed sighting of Brian Shaffer since his disappearance. Brian Shaffer's disappearance is often cited in studies of mysterious missing persons cases. A disappearance occurring in a public space under constant surveillance with no apparent explanation isn't something investigators find every day. What we do know is that on March 31st, 2006, Brian Shaffer entered a bar and never returned. On the afternoon of August 20th, 1966, a young boy flying his kite on a hillside in Brazil stumbled upon the bodies of two men. He immediately alerted authorities, and a team reached the site the following day. The men were found dead, side by side, partially covered by grass, and were dressed in formal suits, wearing waterproof coats, and most notably, each of the men had a lead mask covering their eyes. Beside them were empty water bottles, 2 wet towels, and a small notebook containing a cryptic message that roughly translates to something along the lines of, "After ingesting capsule, await signal." The men were identified as Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana. both electric technicians from a small town several kilometers northeast of Rio de Janeiro. They had traveled to Niterói on August 17th, ostensibly to purchase materials for work. Evidence shows they bought waterproof coats and a bottle of water from a local bar. A waitress at the bar described Miguel as very nervous, noting he frequently checked his watch. This was the last known sighting of the two men, alive. Upon investigation, authorities found no signs of trauma or struggle on the bodies. The cause of death could not be determined, as the bodies had decomposed significantly by the time autopsies were conducted. Toxicology tests could not be performed due to the advanced state of decomposition, and the cryptic note found at the scene suggested a planned sequence of events, but the exact meaning remains unclear. Several theories have been proposed to explain the deaths. Some suggest the men were attempting to contact extraterrestrial or spiritual entities using psychedelic substances. The lead masks may have been intended to protect their eyes from potential blinding light during their encounter. Another theory posits that the men had ingested a toxic substance leading to an accidental death. However, no traces of poison were found, and the cause of death remains undetermined. Others speculate that the deaths were a result of foul play, possibly related to their work or personal lives, but no evidence has been found to support this theory. Despite extensive investigations, no conclusive explanation has been found. The lead mask case remains one of Brazil's most baffling unsolved mysteries. The combination of a cryptic note, an unexplained mask, and deaths that make no sense has captivated the public imagination for decades. The case continues to be studied and discussed, but the truth remains elusive. Between 1945 and 1950, a series of mysterious disappearances occurred in the southwestern region of Vermont. The area, later dubbed the Bennington Triangle, became known for people vanishing without a trace in the dense forest and mountains. No single explanation has ever been confirmed. The Bennington Triangle is centered around Glastonbury Mountain, a remote and heavily wooded area in Bennington County, Vermont. The mountain had long been associated with legends and unexplained occurrences, but nothing would prepare locals for these disappearances that began in the mid-40s. The first notable case occurred on November 12, 1945, when Paula Weldon, an 18-year-old college student, went for a routine hike on the long trail near Glastonbury Mountain, a hike that she never returned from. Despite extensive searches by authorities following the disappearance, volunteers and fellow students searched the mountainside, but no trace of Paula was ever found, and her disappearance remains unsolved. Other disappearances followed. In 1949, Mitty Rivers, a 74-year-old experienced hunter, vanished while leading a hunting party in the same area. Witnesses reported he was seen moving through the woods, then he was gone, and search parties found nothing. Later, in 1950, 3 more individuals disappeared under unusual circumstances near the mountain. James Tedford, Paul Jepson, and Frida Langer. In some cases, personal belongings were found. Some vanished while engaged in everyday activities, such as hiking, hunting, or driving in rural back roads. Investigators later noted several commonalities among the cases. All disappearances occurred within a roughly triangular area on the mountainside, leading to the name the Bennington Triangle. The terrain was rugged, heavily forested, and isolated, complicating search efforts. Some disappearances occurred near roads or populated areas. Weather and natural hazards may have played a role, but the complete lack of evidence in many cases suggests other possibilities are equally as likely. Despite local and state investigations, no definitive cause has ever been identified for these disappearances. Search parties combed miles of forests, streams, and mountainside, but often found nothing. No clothing, no footprints, and no signs of struggle. Theories about the Bennington Triangle range from the plausible to the extraordinary. Was it an accidental set of deaths due to rugged terrain, exposure, or falls? Animal attacks or hypothermia leading victims off on unknown trails? Or potentially criminal activity, including abductions? Some speculative theories suggest paranormal influences, but none of these theories can provide conclusive answers, and the pattern of disappearances remains unexplained.